Hey guys, I'm Eric with Extreme Terrain. In this video, we're going to talk about this new MP Concepts forged aluminum front bumper fitting all 2018 and later Jeep Wrangler JLs. And you should really be checking this out if you like the modular design and style of the Rubicon steel front bumper, but you want a better value for your money. And what exactly do I mean by better value? Well, with this bumper, you get the same refined but rugged style and appearance of the Rubicon steel bumper with the removable end caps that if you're going to go out hitting the trails and you want better clearance for obstacles and terrain, you can turn this bumper from a full width bumper to a stubby bumper by undoing some bolts on both ends and removing the end caps. So you still have that same modular design as that Rubicon steel bumper, but with this kit you are also getting a steel winch plate that's rated to 12,000 pounds and a forged aluminum skid plate as well. So this whole kit from MP Concepts that includes the bumper, the winch plate, and the skid plate is currently selling for right around $850. Now at that price you're going to end up spending a couple $100 less than some other steel front bumper options out there, and that's before you have to add in a winch plate and a skid plate with those other options. So this kit from MP Concepts really is an amazing value. Now in terms of construction, the bumper and skid plate with this kit are made out of forged aluminum, so you're really not adding much weight to your Jeep with this option over your factory OE bumper. The steel winch plate, however, does add maybe 20 to 30 pounds of weight, not a whole lot, considering you're gonna get a winch plate that's rated to 12,000 pounds in a straight line pull. That's gonna be more than enough for any winch that you're gonna put on the front of your JL Wrangler. Overall, I gotta say the fit and finish with this bumper is pretty good. It's a little bit tricky with the installation. There's a lot of hardware we're gonna be dealing with, and we'll talk about that more in a minute. But overall, with the forged aluminum and the steel skid plate, it's all finished in a two-stage texture black powder coat that's gonna protect it against rust, corrosion, weathering for years to come. Overall, pretty good value there. Now, as far as the installation goes, I'm giving it 2 out of 3 wrenches on our difficulty meter. Like I said, we have a lot of hardware to deal with. You're gonna be looking at about 2 hours start to finish to get this job done. There are a couple of tricks to getting this to fit up right and cinch it down. We're gonna show you that, of course, in the installation portion of this video. So let's go ahead and take a look at the tools you're gonna need and go ahead with the installation. All right guys, tools you're gonna see in this installation include an electric impact wrench, a socket wrench, swivel socket, 7, 8, 16, and 18 millimeter sockets, 5 and 6 millimeter Allen sockets, a 6 millimeter Allen key, 10, 15, and 18 millimeter wrenches, a flathead screwdriver, and a trim removal tool. All right, first we're going to show you a clip on how to remove your factory bumper, and then I'll be back to show you how to get your new bumper installed.
To begin this installation, we're going to need to remove our factory bumper. We're going to begin with the air dam underneath. There's a series of pop clips that we'll have to use a screwdriver or a trim panel removal tool, and there's 2 screws that we're going to use an 8 millimeter socket for. All right, so we have 8 of these push pins all the way across the bottom. We're going to just take and pop the center out, and that's going to release that clip. So once you get the last screw out of the bottom, you're ready to pull the whole shield off. So next we're going to take off this metal shield using a 16 millimeter socket. You're going to have 1 bolt on either side. After you get those bolts off, you can lift this up and it'll slide right off. So next we're going to unplug our fog light harness It's located here on the passenger side frame rail. We're just going to press this tab in. And then we can disconnect our plug. So after we have our fog light harness unplugged, you're ready to remove the 4 nuts on both ends of the frame rail. We're going to use an 18mm socket to do this. So the last thing to disconnect before we pull our bumper off, there's going to be 2 push pins, one on either side on the top of the frame rail. We'll need to pop those out with a screwdriver, and then we can pull our bumper off. With everything disconnected, you can remove your stock bumper.
All right guys, now that we have our factory bumper off of the Jeep, I'm going to give it a little side-by-side comparison with our new MP Concepts forged aluminum bumper that we're going to be mounting on our Sahara here in just a moment. Now obviously the design differences are huge. With your new MP Concepts bumper, you have the modular design, so if you remove a few bolts on either end, you can take these end caps off, kind of giving you a stubby design. It's going to give you better clearance for your tires if you're out there off-road and you're articulating your suspension and you've got obstacles you need to clear. You're not going to worry about a bumper getting in your way with this setup from MP Concepts. I really like that about this bumper, and overall the styling kind of emulates the steel bumper that comes from Jeep if you order that as an option. But if you got your Jeep already, you didn't get that as an option, or you bought your Jeep used and you want to kind of emulate that styling, this is a perfect opportunity to do that. Not only that, with this kit, you have the ability to mount a winch on here with the included winch plate, and we're going to show you how the winch plate gets situated as well as part of this installation. And you're also upgrading from a plastic skid plate that we have laid out here on the floor with this forged aluminum one that kind of gives it a nicer appearance. After a while, like ours here, gets a little beat up, some trail rash, and the plastic just doesn't age very well. Overall, this aluminum with this durable matte black powder coat on there is going to age a lot better, and it's going to provide a lot better protection for the front end of your Jeep as well. So let's go ahead and continue with our installation. We're going to remove this cover right here. So to do that, we're going to remove these lock pins just using a flat blade screwdriver. All right guys, now we'll unplug our fog light here, and now we're going to take these 4 bolts out using a 7mm socket. Now you can go ahead and repeat these same steps for the other fog light. All right guys, now at this stage of the installation, if you're going to transfer over your wiring harness to the new bumper, You need to separate the front shell from the back here, and there's a series of 7mm screws around the edges that you take out to separate that, and that'll give you access to the factory wiring harness. And it's just held in place with some retaining, like Christmas tree looking pins. So pry those out and you can remove your factory wiring harness. This is not a permanent installation on our fleet vehicle here. For demonstration purposes today, we're just explaining to you that you're going to need to do that as the next step, obviously, to be able to wire up your factory fog lights on the new bumper. So let's go ahead and continue with the installation. All right guys, now to mount our fog lights to our new bumper here, I'm going to use these brackets here, and they're basically going to insert on the back side of the bumper. So you want these flanges kind of pointing forward, and put your light in like so. And then grab these small Allen bolts from the kit. I want to fish them in from the front to the back like that. And then you're going to use these small top hat or flange nuts. And to tighten them up, go ahead and grab an Allen key. And a 7mm socket. And you have a plastic housing on your fog light, so you don't want to over tighten these. As you can see, we've swapped these out in the past and we've cracked our frame here. Don't necessarily want to do that to your fog light. And go ahead and repeat that for the other fog light. All right guys, now to mount our assembled bracket and light in here, you're gonna want it oriented like this and slide it in, and we're gonna line it up with this hole right there and that hole up top. Now as you can see in the bracket here, we have elongated openings, so you have some adjustability height-wise. And messing around with the fitment here, it's looking like you're probably going to want to slide it up as far as it'll go, and that will give you proper alignment as you're looking at it from the front of the bumper. So go ahead and grab these Allen bolts out of the kit. These are bigger than the ones we use to mount the light to the bracket, and a washer and another one of these flange nuts. And in order to do this, it's a little tight working in here, but you're going to want to get this lined up. And take the bolt and slide it through from the back to the front. Now normally I wouldn't do it in this orientation, but the way this bumper is designed, you're not going to see that from the front. And what's going to make it easier to do is take your nut and start it by hand on the front side, and then you'll be able to secure the nut with a 10mm wrench while we tighten the bolt from the back side. Now that we have these started, I'm securing the nut on the front side with that wrench, and I just have a 4mm Allen socket right here. I'm just going to tighten this up a little bit by hand. right, now using our electric impact here, we're not going to over tighten it, but we're going to tighten it down using this. Then just go around to the front side and check your alignment before you move on, and repeat on the other side. All right guys, we have our winch plate up here on the table. We need to attach these supporting brackets before we go any further, so grab a button head Allen bolt out of your kit and a flange nut. We're just going to start it by hand right now. Grab a second one for here. You're going to want to orient this so the downward part of this bracket right here is kind of flush with this edge. And then we'll have a mirror image of that on the other side of this bracket. We'll just leave those loose for now so we can adjust like this as needed when we mate this up with the bumper or with the frame of it. All right guys, now we're looking inside of our front bumper here. Take your winch plate and line it up on the studs. And we're going to transfer this over to the Jeep and mount it on to the frame rails using these studs. All right guys, now we're going to bring the bumper over. Now that we have it started, I'm just going to hand thread on a couple of nuts just to secure the bumper. Grab the rest of the nuts and we're going to get them started. And I've got an 18mm socket and a swivel socket, and we're going to go ahead and tighten these up. All right guys, and something I just want to point out, as you just saw, I was tightening up the nuts on the frame rail there with my impact gun, a swivel socket, and an 18mm socket. I was able to work in there pretty easily. The swivel socket is a definite must-have for this. If you need a little bit more room, depending on the types of tools you're using, don't forget you can remove this panel right here just by undoing these Allen bolts right there. That'll give you more room to work. And if you're going to be installing a winch as part of this installation as well, which we are not, but if you're doing that, you're going to have to remove this anyway. So let's continue. All right guys, now we're going to attach these brackets here to the inside of our skid plate. And we're going to use these M10 button head bolts and flat washers and flange nuts. To secure the nut, we're going to need a 15mm wrench, and to tighten up the bolts, you're going to need a 6mm Allen socket. And just make sure that when you select your bracket to mount on, that This portion here is to the inside and the angle is pointing downward. This is the proper orientation for the bracket. We're going to leave that a little snug for right now, just in case we need to adjust it when we put it up on the Jeep. All right guys, now we're gonna thread one of these M12 button head bolts into this hole here, and this is the support bracket for the winch plate. And you're gonna need one of these flange nuts and an 18mm wrench. You can put it in your wrench like that, bring it up inside, and press it up against the inside of the frame there, and then slide it until it's over the hole. Simply thread on your bolt like that. And then you're going to need an 8mm Allen key or Allen socket to tighten this down. All right guys, now go ahead and grab 2 of the riv nuts out of the kit, and we're going to be pushing them into these hexagonal holes right here. Ultimately, we're going to thread bolts through the brackets for the support for the skid plate right here. So go ahead and repeat this and this over on the other side. All right guys, so to use the bolts that are going to be on the leading edge of our skid plate, you want to make sure that all of these threaded clips are in place. There were some that came loose in the kit when we unboxed this bumper for our video today. So make sure you slide these on over the holes. You're going to want the threaded portion on the top side so it fits nice and flush like that. All right guys, now to get this started, bring this up, and I'm going to line up the center hole here. Just get that started just like that. That's going to help support some of the weight while we lift up the rear and get the brackets that are on the inside of the frame rails lined up with those riv nuts that we just pushed into place a moment ago. All right guys, now we're looking from the top down at the 2 silver riv nuts there. That's where we're going to be lining up with the brackets on the inside of our skid plate. Go ahead and grab these button head bolts and we're going to thread them in kind of from the top side here. I think that's going to be the easiest way for you to do it. So we're going to lift the skid plate up into place. All right, and we got them both started on that side, guys, and we're going to do the same thing on the passenger side. All right guys, now we're going to start the rest of the bolts here. We have 5 in total we're going to need on the leading edge of our skid plate here. All right, this is our last one to get started here, so I'm going to go ahead and get it mounted on my electric impact wrench. We're going to use a 5mm Allen socket. And we're going to tighten down the line. All right guys, I have a 6mm Allen key here. I'm going to go ahead and tighten up those bolts on the inside of the frame rails that we threaded into the riv nuts. And do the same thing on the other side. All right guys, now we're just going to pop in our finishing covers here. This one here has to slide into this groove. And then the locking tabs just pound into place like that. And our center cover here as well. All right guys, that wraps up this review and install of this MP Concepts forged aluminum front bumper fitting all 2018 and later Jeep Wrangler JLs. And of course, for all things Wrangler, keep it right here at ExtremeTerrain.com.